پھرا لیتے ہیں عباس تپتے ہیں نہر کی سمت سے ٹھنڈی جو ہوا آتی ہے کربلا سے جو کبھی ہاں دھڑکتا نہ ہو مقتل میں کہیں قلب رباط ہاں دھڑکتا نہ ہو مقتل میں کہیں قلب رباط علی اصغر کی صدا تی ہے کربلا سے جو کبھی ماں سمجھتی ہے دلہن لاؤنگی آیا ہے شباب ماں سمجھتی ہے دلہن لاؤنگی آیا ہے شباب شے سمجھتے ہیں کہ اکبر کی قضا تی ہے کربلا سے جو کبھی جب زیادہ کبھی بیمار میں ہو جاتا ہوں جب زیادہ کبھی بیمار میں ہو جاتا ہوں خود بخود میرے لیے خاک شفا تی ہے کربلا سے جو کبھی ہو کے ہوا تی ہے بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات باری دیگر باواز بلند صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، تمہارا دوست ہے تنہا، تمہارا دوست ہے تنہا، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، شہید کیسے ہوا وہ بتاؤ گے آ کے، تم حال مسلم بے کس سناؤ گے آ کے، رقیہ تک تیغ رستہ حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، لگاؤ اس سے بھی اندازے میری غربت کے، جہاں پہ ابن علی لکھنا تھا وہاں میں نے دیا ہے ماں کا حوالہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، بتا رہا تھا اسے کوئی بھی نہیں ہے میرا، تو بولی ثانی زہرا حبیب آئے گا، ہے اس کو تم پہ بھروسہ حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، در بطول دوبارہ جلایا جائے گا، تمہارے دوست پہ خنجر چلایا جائے گا، نہیں ہے وقت زیادہ حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ خط نہیں سے بہنوں کی آرزو سمجھو، ہمارے لفظوں کو زینب کی گفتگو سمجھو، بہن یہ کہتی ہے بھیا حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا حبیب آ جاؤ، بہن نے اس کو تکلم جو بھائی سمجھا تھا، پکاری شام غریبا میں ثانیے زہرا، ہمارا لٹتا ہے پردہ، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ، تمہارا دوست ہے تنہا، حبیب آ جاؤ، یہ ختم شاہ نے لکھا، حبیب آ جاؤ۔ اور محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ سورہ فاتحہ۔ محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد۔ باقی جو رفیق شہ دی رہ گئے دو چار، باقی جو رفیق شہ دی رہ گئے دو چار، حسرت سے انہیں دیکھتے تھے سید ابرار، کی بڑھ کے حبیب ابن مظاہر نے یہ گفتار، یہ پیر غلام اب ہے اجازت کا طلبگار، یہ پیر غلام اب ہے اجازت کا طلبگار، بندے کو بھی مرنے کی رضا دیجیے آقا، فردوس کے راستے پہ لگا دیجیے آقا، فردوس کے راستے پہ لگا دیجیے آقا، شبیر نے سینے سے لگایا کئی باری، رخصت جو کیا آنکھوں سے آنسو ہوئے جاری، گھبرا کے در خیمہ سے زینب یہ پکاری، لوگوں کہو میدان میں چلی کس کی سواری، لوگوں کہو میدان میں چلی کس کی سواری، اب کون بچائے گا شہ جن و بشر کو، سب چھوڑ چلے جاتے ہیں زہرا کے پسر کو، سب چھوڑ چلے جاتے ہیں زہرا کے پسر کو، پیری میں جو دکھلائی جوانوں کی شجاعت، تھرانے لگے عزوے بدن گھوٹ گئی گئی طاقت، دم چڑھ گیا گرمی سے ہوئی پیاس کی شدت، دل سے کہا اب عالم فانی سے ہے رخصت، دل سے کہا اب عالم فانی سے ہے رخصت، نہ لشکر اعداء کو نہ شمشیر کو دیکھا، کس آس سے مڑ کر رخ شبیر کو دیکھا، کس آس سے مڑ کر رخ شبیر کو دیکھا، سینہ چھدا تیروں سے ہوا فرق دوپارا، رگ رگ جو کٹی پھر نہ رہا ضبط کا یارا، شیرازائے اجزائے بدن کھل گیا سارا، گرتے ہوئے گھوڑے سے یہ حضرت کو پکارا، گرتے ہوئے گھوڑے سے یہ حضرت کو پکارا، یا آپ کا آنا میری بخشش کی سند ہے، اے شیر الہی کے پسر وقت مدد ہے، اے شیر الہی کے پسر وقت مدد ہے، باقی جو رفیق شہ
اور محمد وآل محمد صلوات. محمد وآل محمد صلوات. اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد. باری دیگر باواز بلند صلوات. Assalamu alaikum. I just have a few quick announcements. The first one is the annual Lost and Found, which has all of the things that Jafri has found over the past year. If you are missing anything, please contact the Jafri management. There's a box outside. Anything that has not been claimed at the end of the month will then be donated. If you'd like to sponsor Tabarruk for any of the programs which are coming up, as many of you know, we have weekly programs from now through the 9th of Rabiul Awwal. Please contact either brothers Abid Mirza or Musawwir Jafri. And once again, for the elderly sitting in the back on the chairs, our request is please, when you arrive early, fill the chairs in the rows in the middle first so that we can save the ones at the end for the elderly people who are arriving later so that they don't have to search for an open spot. Sunday school signups are also now underway. Sunday school begins the middle of August. If you're interested in signing up your kids, you can contact anyone in the Jafria management. Also, this upcoming Saturday, July 13th, from 7:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. is the annual Muharram blood drive. We are currently at 15 of 45 signups, so there still are 30 open slots. If you're interested, you can contact any of the volunteers for the blood drive. And lastly, the annual Muharram Julus will take place this Sunday, July 14th. The Julus takes place every year in downtown Los Angeles at 700 South Broadway from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. All Mu'mineen and their families are sincerely requested by the Julus committee to mark that date on their calendar and join in the Julus. Lastly, if I can request all of you to recite Surah Fatiha and Surah Ikhlas for all the marhumin on the Jafri Memorial Board, for all the marhumin of everyone in attendance tonight, and for the marhumin of today's sponsors, which include marhum Shaban Ali Lokhandwala, marhum Sadiq Ali Mithani, and all the marhumin of the Lokhandwala and Mithani families. Before I request Dr. Akber Mithani, if I can please just ask my brothers, if you don't mind, just take 1 or 2 steps and please come forward. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Please join me in inviting Dr. Akber Mithani up to the minbar with the loudest ever salawats upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع المذنبين وخاتم النبيين نبينا وشفينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما ينطق عن الهوى إن هو إلا وحي يوحى. آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وعلى Elders of the community, my brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. As we travel this journey of spirituality towards the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will see that there is a trend these days amongst especially some of our youth and also some other people in the community, where the trend is that people are saying that we want to be spiritual. We want to gain spirituality. And what they say is that we want to be an arif. Yeah, we want to become spiritual in nature. Forget about religiosity, but we want spirituality. So the whole issue is, how do you become spiritual? And of course, by being spiritual in this journey that we are taking, we want to use that beautiful hadith of the Holy Prophet about Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. Inna al-Husayn misbahul huda wa safinatun najat. Yes? Hussein is the lantern of guidance and the ark of salvation. So how do we make ourselves deserving spiritually to become amongst those who have opened up to Hussein, so that Hussein is able to get hold of us. Hussein is able to choose us and say, come onto the ark. What is that process? How do we do this? And in the next few nights, we will talk about how this can happen. Yeah? So one of the ways that we need to talk about, for some reason, my beside salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My iPad. I think I may have forgotten to charge the iPad, so it may die on me. And of course, if it dies on me, then you will hear maybe something very different from me than what I wanted to say today. Regardless, let's talk about this. What is this method? What is this process? How do I get to be deserving to embark on the ark of salvation of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein? Now, in order to do this, we have to understand some things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the human being with aql, yes, with intellect. There is no other creation that has been blessed in the way that the human being has been blessed, by giving him aql, by giving him intellect. But then he has taken the intellect and he has divided the intellect into two parts. देखो इस टाइम पे है ना आपकी तवज्जो बहुत जरूरी है, right? Please try and focus, because I know it's going to be difficult, but it will become very easy. Inshallah, you will understand what I'm trying to say. So Allah is blessed people, the blessed humankind, blessed the human creation with aql, with intellect. And he has now taken this intellect and he has divided the intellect into two parts. The first part of the intellect is called the theoretical intellect. Yes? Aql nazari. Yes? The theoretical intellect. What is the theoretical intellect? Theoretical intellect is related to your ilm. It is related to your knowledge. It is related to the information that you receive. That's the theoretical intellect, right? It's receiving information, receiving knowledge by attending lectures, by reading books, by listening to somebody who gives you advice or nasihat. This is knowledge or ilm that comes to you through your theoretical intellect. And then you reflect on this knowledge, you reflect on this information, and you start to have ma'rifah, you start to understand the information. You start to understand the knowledge that you have received. Yes? That's one part of the intellect, the theoretical intellect. Aql nazari. Yes? The second part of the intellect is, the other part is called the practical intellect. Right? This is aql amali. Yes? Aql nazari, aql amali. Aql amali is what? It's the practical intellect. Practical intellect. Here the issue is that you have to do something. You have to practically implement the knowledge that you have, right? So implementing that knowledge that you have requires you to have that practical intellect, right? Here, what is required is action. Action is required here, yes? So there are two parts of the intellect: theoretical intellect and practical intellect. Let me give you an example, make things a little bit easier. Let us say you are sitting down and there is a snake in front of you, right? A snake is in front of you. Now somebody comes and they tie your hands and they tie your legs. Now you have your hands are tied, your legs are tied, and there is a snake in front of you, right? Now you know that this is a snake. You know that the snake is poisonous. You know that this snake will strike you and you will die. So the man comes to you and says, why aren't you running away? And what you are saying is, I'm not running away because my hands are tied. My legs are tied. The problem that you have is not in the theoretical knowledge, is it? You know that the snake is poisonous. You know that the snake is going to bite you and you are going to die. The problem is with your practical intellect, right? It's because you can't do anything. You can't run because your hands are tied, your legs are tied. Yes? Another example I'll give you, right? For example, the theoretical intellect would tell you that speaking the truth is a virtue. It's good. It's good to speak the truth. Yes? Anybody disagree with this? Please, if you disagree with this, I've done my majlis, I'll leave and, somebody else take over, right? Everybody agrees, right? Speaking the truth is goodness. There is goodness in it. It's a virtue, right? You understand that it is an important virtue. The question now becomes, you know that speaking the truth is a virtue, but can you practically speak the truth or not? Right? इसमें ज़मीन आसमान का फर्क है. You know something, but are you practically able to do it? You know, for example, that cheating or stealing is bad. Cheating is bad. Evil is bad. Greed is bad. You know this thing. The theoretical intellect is intact. The theoretical intellect tells you these are bad things. Cheating somebody, stealing from somebody, this is not good. This is bad, right? The question is, can you practically refrain from cheating or stealing or not? That requires practical intellect, right? There is a very big difference between knowing something and then acting upon that knowledge. Are you with me so far? Yes, okay. So the purpose of the mission of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein was that he came to cultivate both the theoretical and the practical intellect. He did not come just to cultivate the theoretical intellect. He came to cultivate the theoretical and the practical intellect. And only when you have developed and perfected both sides of the intellect, only then you become deserving to board the ark of salvation. He did not just make speeches to tell people about God, about prophethood, about all of these things. No, say. Yeah. He did not do that, right? He came to cultivate both the theoretical as well as the practical intellect, right? So with the theoretical intellect and practical intellect, if you look at the corollary of that, the opposite of that, we have theoretical ignorance and practical ignorance. Yes? Theoretical ignorance and practical ignorance. Theoretical ignorance requires knowledge. You require ilm. All right? You require knowledge, you require information, you require ilm. But then you need to take that ilm, you need to take that knowledge, and you need to manifest that knowledge in your day-to-day lives practically. That requires you to take over your practical ignorance, right? That is what you need to do, right? For that, you need motivation. You need somebody to motivate you, right? You need somebody to remind you, to motivate you, to say you have the knowledge, now you need to apply that knowledge in your day-to-day life. Yeah? That was the mission of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein, came for that purpose. The ark of salvation is an ark where the person who embarks the ark has now mastered and perfected his theoretical and his practical intellect. Yes? I have to tell you, the biggest problem we have, and I'm talking about me, inshallah, I'm not talking about you, You are all perfect, mashallah. What beautiful souls you are in front of me. For your beautiful souls, recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You see, I feel that the biggest problem we have is not in the theoretical ignorance. We don't have a problem in theoretical ignorance. Our issue is in our practical ignorance, right? You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He does not say to Nabi Musa, He does not say to Prophet Musa, oh Prophet Musa, go and explain to Fir'aun intellectually that I exist. That's not what He says. He does not say to Musa, go to Fir'aun and tell him that God exists. Because Fir'aun already knew that God exists. The problem with Fir'aun was not in his theoretical ignorance. He knew that God exists. It was his practical intellect that was deficient. He knew that God exists, but he was not able to apply that knowledge in his day-to-day life. So Prophet says, so Allah says what to Prophet Musa? He says, go to him and speak to him in a soft way. Speak to him in a calm way. Speak to him in a really nice way. Speak to him in a way where you can motivate him so that he can move from his theoretical ignorance and start to move into his practical intellect. That is what Allah is saying to Prophet Musa. Talk to him in a nice way. Talk to him softly. Talk to him kindly so you can motivate him. Yeah? You know, somebody came to Ayatollah Bahjat. Ayatollah Bahjat is a great arif, right? If you all know Ayatollah Bahjat, one of the biggest urafa that has passed in our history of the scholars. He's a great arif. So a man came to Ayatollah Bahjat and said to Ayatollah Bahjat, I want to be an arif. I want to gain spirituality. So he said, Agha, tell me, what should I do so that I can start my journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Give me a naqsha, right? Give me, an outline. Give me a structure. What do I do so that I can start this journey of mine towards the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And Ayatollah Bahjat said to him, he said, look, you don't have to do anything. He said to Ayatollah Bahjat, tell me which book should I read? Which manual should I read? Which narration should I read? I want to start this journey. Ayatollah Bahjat said to him, all you need to do is that the knowledge that you have right now, whatever knowledge you have right now, just start to act on that knowledge. That's all I want you to do. You want to gain spirituality? You have knowledge. You have theoretical knowledge. Now start to act on that knowledge and you will see how you will elevate and soar towards the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, there are two groups, that are present in society, right? If you look at this whole area of practical and theoretical intellect, there are two groups that are present in society, right? The first group is that group that has ilm, that has knowledge, but they have no action. And they have not been able to manifest that knowledge practically in their life. That's the first group, right? The second group, which is, I think, even more dangerous at times, is that group who have action. They have practical intellect. They have action, they have practical intellect, but they do not have knowledge and ma'rifah. Both are bad, right? They perform, the second group, they perform acts of worship. They recite salat, they do fasting, they do all the worships, but they do it without any understanding and ma'rifah. Yeah? Their intellect, their minds are empty. Right? Theoretically, their knowledge is empty. Their ilm is empty. Their marifa is empty, right? You can understand these groups, right? In today's day and age, you can understand these groups. These are the same groups who, in the name of Islam, they carry out acts of terror. Right? These are the people who are praying. They are fasting. They're doing all of these things, but they have no marifa. They have no ma'rifah, they have no understanding, they have no knowledge. Right? And you see that the same two groups were present in Karbala. These same two groups were actually present in Karbala. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is trying to cultivate and change both these groups. In the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, you have people like Shimr. And what does Shimr say? When Abu Abdullah al-Hussein wants to pray Salat, Shimr says what? He says to Abu Abdullah, he says, pray as much Salat as you want, it's not going to have any effect. Right? The problem with Shimr was what? Shimr and people like him in the actual army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, they used to pray. They used to fast. They had marks of sujood on their forehead. They were the Qari of Quran. They knew the Quran by heart. What they did not have is ma'rifah. They did not have ilm. They did not have that knowledge. They did not understand the reality of the wali of Allah. They had action, but they did not have theoretical intellect, right? On the other hand, you had somebody like Umar ibn Sa'ad. Umar ibn Sa'ad, he knew who Abu Abdullah al-Hussein was. On that night of Ashura, he was in a state where he was unsure what to do. Because he knew that this was the grandson of the Prophet. He knew the status of Hussein. He knew all of these things. So he did not have a problem with his theoretical intellect. He was not ignorant theoretically. What he had a problem with was that he was not able to practically implement that knowledge in his life to an extent that he got to a stage where he was ready to kill the grandson of the Prophet. Same people you see in Karbala, right? Our issue, my friends, is one of practical ignorance, right? So the question now is, so what's the solution? It's good to identify the problem, but we need a solution, yes? So what's the solution? You see, after having acquired ilm, and after having acquired knowledge, we have to now move. The movement has to happen. That harakat, right? That a movement needs to happen where we move from having theoretical knowledge, where we have cultivated, perfected our theoretical intellect. Now we need to move towards perfecting our practical intellect and addressing our practical ignorance. How do we do that? The only way to do that is by developing your moral and ethical character, your akhlaq. It's the only way that you will move from a theoretical intellect towards perfection of your practical intellect. Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. You know, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says a beautiful narration. He says that how unfortunate it is for you that your base and illegitimate desires, have taken over and have dominance over your practical intellect. This is Amirul Mu'mineen. He's saying how unfortunate it is that your own base desires, your attachment to this dunya has actually become dominant over your practical intellect. You see, what prevents Umar ibn Sa'ad to move from his ilm and knowledge about the status of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, about the importance of wilayah, he knows it, right? What is actually preventing him from moving from that theoretical knowledge that it has to a station of practical action is his greed and his base desires. Power, position, property. This is what Umar ibn Sa'ad was about, right? I want, the governorship of Ray, in Iran. This is what I want. I want the power. I want the position. I want the property. That is not allowing him to move. His deficiency in his moral and ethical character